There we are. Hello, everyone. So glad to be back. The reason no one has to fail, and that I do know. And I had to do this today because I'm making changes. And the only reason that we might experience what feels like failure in our lives is that we're unwilling to change. The only way we grow and evolve in our consciousness is when we become willing to change and take the next step. And sometimes that can be uncomfortable. I just put a post up saying self acceptance is the most challenging part of life because what we have to accept is something we don't know, that we've never seen before, that we've never experienced, and it's coming through us. And that has been my life, but it was supposed to be. Just as you have a very valuable purpose you were meant to live, and it's coming about now, and you might feel it pushing on you because of the changes in our world. We all evolve the same way in our consciousness. We just do it differently because of how we've been programmed, what we've been taught to believe, and what we can accept. And sometimes we can't accept a larger parts of ourselves. And that was what was happening for me for the longest time. But today I'm giving you this information because I want you to know there's zero reason for you to fail because I've been given the answers. I've received the answers to whatever might be going on for you in your life and that would cause you to not achieve greatness or success. And I do know what that is, but I had to live it myself. We're not going to have the same life path. We're not going to have the same journeys. They're going to be different, and we're going to all do it differently. I would have never told you that my life would have led me to bring to the world a philosophy that could cause any person to live a great life and become who they were meant to be. But that's exactly what happened. When we come into the world, we have limitations that are embedded within us. We've accepted them from our parents or our ancestors or wherever they came from. So then it becomes our job, our individual job and responsibility to move beyond them and create something new. And that's what I've always wanted to do my entire life. But I got distracted and went into different ways and different places. But I can no longer do that because I can see what's happening in your life and in our world. And that was the thing that was I wasn't willing to embrace or hold. And so I have to now. I've always said I was never like the other channelers. I was doing something a little bit different. And that you will understand today because there was a post that I put up that has a video from 4 years ago that talks about it. And I have downloaded, I've said this before, I've downloaded the order of the universe. So I knew what was happening in your life and in our world. And that was such a bridge too far for me to accept because I hadn't seen this before. It hadn't happened. But I'm going to give you a bit of the story because in 1989 is when it started. 1989 is when I first sat down and said, I'm going to do something called automatic writing from what I had learned from somewhere else. And then after a few days, it kind of shocked me what came through because I'm receiving real information that's wisdom and intelligence that I could not have possibly known. And then I knew it was aligned with what was happening in my life and also in the world because we're all the same. We just will view things in a very different way. And I hid it for the longest time because I said, no one's going to understand this. No one's going to get it. How am I doing these things and getting this information and also changing so much that I was creating work from it. I was creating projects out of the work that I was receiving from sitting down and doing automatic writing. And then to have it revealed to me that I had created the first verified consciousness raising system in history. And it was verified because it was shown how it worked and how our consciousness works, how we change and how we can evolve. And so when you think about mindset or anything that you might have taken that you're trying to change your mindset, well, I had the ultimate of that because I was receiving this from the quantum field. And that was something I didn't even know I was doing. It was revealed later. We all have something like that. We can't know it while it's happening. It just shows up. And then we have to decide we're going to own it. And in 2020 is when I knew that I had to shift. I had to change. So we're talking 6 years now because I knew what would be happening, what you might be experiencing in your life, and what we would be seeing in our world. And explaining that was a little challenging because I doubted it. And I'm going to read you something. Today is the 20th of April. And I'm going to read you the message from April 20th of 2020. And as I said, I could go back, which I am going to do, because I could take the messages that I've received from 2020. I could write a book. I could write a complete book on what's happening in the world and how we change and how we evolve, because it was just all coming through. And April 20th, 2020, we told you this was coming, and it is what you wanted. Yes, we are using extremely insensitive words to many of you at this time, but to others, this will be a welcome relief. We also wanted to catch as many eyeballs as possible. You have no idea how long it took us to get Roger to write those words, for the same reason you each are having your earthly experiences now. This morning, Roger came upon a video by Tanya Gabrielle, whom we have mentioned before. We let him there because Roger does not always trust himself or us until another gives him permission. We all do that to a degree. After all, he wouldn't want to appear crazy to others. We told him that we had given him the information on the current conditions of your world, but he had to search to find it. We will place it here, and those of you who take the time to study and absorb its meaning will begin to sail through this period. And then it goes back to July 8th of 2015. Self-sufficiency is indeed a goal that you have because it can only be achieved, realized, and felt by you in your own process of evolving. It seems to you there have been many times in your life where it felt as if things were being taken away from you or they never materialized in the first place. And that was precisely so that you would get busy, so to speak, and experience your ability to achieve self-sufficiency. It is almost as if you use those prior periods as motivation to go deeper into yourself and find your creative richness. And through that experience, come to know, appreciate, and finally accept your own worth. It is not that you do not need others, but you do desire to know intrinsic self sufficiency. And that means what we develop inside each of us, and it's going to be for all of us. As I went through and began receiving this information, as I said, it started in 1989. And I kept it hidden for as many years as I could because I said, how am I going to explain this to people? Because I know what they can achieve. I know what people can become. I know they can become great. But I sat for 37 years and put it all together and put it into a work that's now a philosophy that is going to go to the world, because it was about up leveling the world at this time. As we're experiencing everything that's happening in our world, there are energetic changes that are occurring. And what was happening for me is that I was interpreting them. Now, the reason they mentioned in that one message going to this Tanya Gabrielle, she does astrology or numerology or whatever. I never understood any of that, except the information that I was receiving was aligned to all of that. So when I would listen to someone else talk about it, that would show me, yeah, I was right. What I was receiving was actually on point. Then what began happening, and I'm just going to talk about this because I want everyone to understand this is why I must change, because everyone's not going to do this work. Many times we will just stay in the same place. But I'm telling you, no one has to fail. If they were doing this work, they would have a great life. They would have everything that they wanted. And I put that up today as well, because I do know that that is true. Now, you may argue that it's not possible, but that's only because you've been programmed to think that, as was I. I could not have believed that I was receiving something in this way. And it wasn't until 2021 when I was told to start going back to older messages, and I would see that they were aligned and they were consistent and they were giving us a different way of changing consciousness over time, which is what we all do. But I'm putting it down in a systematic way, in a way that any person could follow. And then when they did follow it, they changed. And I'll give you the testimonial so you can see for yourself. They changed in ways that they couldn't imagine. And that's what everyone wants. And then I had to sit with the fact that I had brought to the world something that could change the world and make me rich, that could make me incredibly wealthy if I were to give it to people. If I were to put it out there, that's what would happen, because no one fails at it. They all succeed. I just stopped because I couldn't believe it, like maybe you couldn't believe. But that's why I'm changing tomorrow, because I do know what was happening. And I'll just tell you, when I've talked about I received the quantum philosophy, it's because the information was aligned. We have information that we just pass on from generation to generation, but the information's always been here. We can go back to ancient times and find things that were told to us then that we start to process and come to understand. And so I can look at the next day. That was the 20th that I read to you. And so I'm going to do one more because I just have to be completely honest. I could never have talked about this. And then because of that, when you don't own yourself, you start screwing up your life and everyone else's as well. And so I was doing that because I'm doing something that we hadn't seen in human history, but it's a thing that could change anyone's life and our world. But I was afraid of talking about it. So on the 21st of April in 2020, you will understand this, because if you look at the world today, you'll know exactly what this means and how it might apply to you. April 21st, 2020, you will embrace your feminine nature, heal, and evolve. It took a while for Roger to assimilate those words as he struggles with the human classifications and labels each of you uses. The conditions of your world currently have arisen due to a lack of understanding of that principle. You each are comprised of feminine and masculine energies. And the reason for that is so that you would have contrast. From contrast, you exercise your right of free will to make choices to move your lives forward in a manner you desire. As the human species, you do the same thing collectively. Over the millennia, the balance has shifted in a manner that the feminine nature was almost obscured. Now, that would never occur, for it would mean that end of human life as you know it. We know this is complicated, but you will come to understand. Yesterday, during a talk Roger was delivering, we had him say, unless your business or career is for the upliftment and evolvement of all humankind, it won't do well. Now you know where all of you are headed. But please remember, you only have to get through this period, and you have done it before. There will be more, and tomorrow we will offer proof that events of this day will provide. Now, again, receiving that at that time made no sense to me, but it does now, because we can see what's happened in the world. We can see the shifts that are happening, and all of that came through in a very organized way. Then what happened in 2021 to show the effectiveness and that every person is on the earth to accomplish something, to achieve something. I'm told that I was given all this information in 2012, which I had no awareness of until I went back and found them. And then also that if I were to meet someone, I would have been given a message on their birthday in 2012. I doubted that, but then I started trying it, and it would work every single time. The people would be so amazed at what the information was, because again, we carry information, and there is the law of attraction, if you might have heard of, which is energy. Our brains are energetic, our bodies are that, we are all creating it. That's the only thing that happens. But we could be resistant and we run from it. When I come on, I would rarely do any live streams, because I could see people come and they just listen for a second and they have to run because it doesn't make any sense. Or if you come to my YouTube channel, people won't subscribe there either, because I have to tell the truth. And we don't like looking at that. We don't like looking at ourselves. And I didn't like looking at the fact that I was going to fail because I'm not really moving forward and telling everybody this thing that I've created that is so bizarre that no one could have understood it, except it healed every aspect of me, and I'm 75. So this is why I say to people, I know there's no reason for you not to become successful, happy, and have everything that you want, because it's just a matter of uncovering your unique path and how it formulates in this universe, in the world, and I was given all of that. And when I meet with someone, and I just showed this today, as a matter of fact, there was someone who came for a private session and they wanted information on both their lives and also their mate. And I put both of those together, and it was shocking to see the accuracy of it and why they were together, what they were supposed to learn and gain from that relationship, how they could evolve together. And I still doubted it. Did that work? Today, she says to me, it was spot on. The messages were spot on, and it helped them all. Everyone won't do that. We become afraid of ourselves, is what happens. That's the only thing we ever fear, is ourselves. And that's what I was doing, because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be seen like we're just out of our minds for whatever reason, except we're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be unique individuals, and we're all born to bring something into the world. Otherwise, there would have been no point in our birth. And what mine was to move through all of these things. Now, if you have read my book, and I hope that more people do, because this will make even more sense to you, but I wrote a book and released it in 2019 called Overcoming Fear, A Guide to Freedom. And so you will know, if you read that book, what I've moved through in my life, what I've healed, what I've cured, what I've come to understand. And most of it came through this work, because I didn't start this till 1989. And then the things that happened in my life that was so horrific were after that. And that's what caused me to heal. That's what caused me to understand things and to put together this work. So then in 2021, and you'll see some of this, I put people in a program because I said, I want to see if this works for everyone. And what I was given, this works for any single person. It doesn't matter who you are. And I should have known that when I was 26, because I was working with a billionaire then. This is before I had any of this awareness of this information. But I couldn't understand why he was asking me questions and getting my counsel all the time. So it doesn't matter how much money you have or what you've done. There's still another place in your consciousness that you may not be able to access that I can. And that's when I'm going to start moving my life to now. I didn't realize that I was a savant, that I had these abilities, that I had these qualities, that I could access this information in an organized way that would create a transformative philosophy that could change your life and our world. And I had to accept that. I had to sit and look at it, because it kept showing up every day. And sometimes I would just not want to look, because I said, I don't want to fulfill this, and I don't want to tell them. And then I will have people who I see moving through things and doing different programs and different works who are not getting any results. And I said, but I have the results that you want. I have the information. And that would sometimes, people would think it sounds egotistical. No, it's not. Not when you know how much I suffered throughout my life, how much I struggled, how much work I put into doing this. The difficulty I experienced was not valuing it, not understanding what it was. And we all have that to a degree. But this is something that is so far more valuable than anything you will ever do. And I know that, and I can say it because I've lived it. And I started doing personal development things in the 70s. So I do understand. I've done practically everything. But this far surpasses anything that I've done and anything that you will do. That I do know. And so what I'm doing after tomorrow, I'm going to work with private clients, because everyone won't change. And I had to get that through my head. You will stay stuck. I made this so reasonable for anyone to be able to do it, because it's an organized system that you will come in and start to discover who you are, and you just keep expanding, evolving, and becoming empowered. And you start achieving self-mastery, life mastery, all the things that you thought that you wanted. This work gives it to you. That I do know. And so, but I'm going to be changing. It's going to be a completely different rate, which I was told many years ago, as you might have heard. I was told I should have been charging at least $5,000 years ago, and I would have had so much more done. But you have to move beyond those kinds of regrets as well, and doubts that you might have had, and then do the thing that's in front of you. And that's what I'm doing now. And as you go through my blog, you will see that I put up so many things to show you all this information that I have accumulated, that I'm now putting into this work, that anybody who uses it, it's impossible for them to fail. It's impossible for them not to become magnificent, not to live a great life, and to change. That I do know, because the answers have been given. They're within you. All I did was put together a way for you to find it all. And so now I'm going to be taking this much bigger. That's why I'm changing tomorrow. And I need other, I'm going to be sending this to some folks that are marketers who can get it to more people in a much bigger way and also charge the kind of money that it should have been a long time ago. I'm not the marketer. I just want to give people the ability to own themselves and to become successful. And this work will do that. There's no question. When I started doing private channeling, that was the most surprising because I could access the information for that. I could access any blockage that you were having and know why it was there. Now, not everyone wants that because sometimes we stay afraid, we stay hidden. I did, so I do understand. But the fact is, I had to own this. The only reason we don't become successful is that we don't want to own who we are or the gifts that we've been given or the abilities that start to come about. And that's what was happening for me. I didn't want to be judged, but I can't do that anymore. This is far too valuable. What is happening in the world now is we're going through an evolutionary change. You think that that there's no reason for what's happening in the United States, for instance. I was given all that information, and I'll be publishing more of it, so you'll see it's energetic shifts, and they're affecting you, and they're happening within you, and we just put them out into the world. That's what happens. And so these are concepts that are challenging for people to accept. And I knew this a while ago, which is why I hesitated, because when you create something that's brand new that people haven't seen, that will give them the ability to live great lives, they won't want it. This has been proven throughout history. There have been so many things that were discovered by so many people, and I'll have to put together a list because I had to look at that to see. Because I go, why am I struggling with people getting to understand how happy they could become and how healed and successful and prosperous if they would just move through all the blockages? And I've written them all, but you'll start to see that. And then marketers told me years ago, Roger, people won't do it unless you're charging thousands of dollars because we like to suffer. We like to struggle. So I'm going to create more struggle and suffering. And I'm being funny about it because it's what I had to see. And I had to acknowledge this within myself. Because again, doing something that no one had seen done before and could come out healed and happy and move through all the trauma and all the difficulty and all the challenges. And now it's put together in a way that anyone could do it. But I will tell you, the fact is, most won't. And I do understand it. I talk about synchronicity so much because that's all the information that I was receiving. And Carl Jung talked about that. And if you've studied him or read the Red Book or any of that, you'll kind of understand. However, he could see very clearly the difficulty with most people is that they don't want to look inside. They don't want to do that shadow work. I didn't want to do it, but there's a little too much. But I'm doing it now because I must. I have to change. And I'm telling you, there is no reason for you not to have the life that you want to have, be happy, and move through any kind of difficulty that you've had. And I've just created that way. I'm going to get other people to help me get this out there because now it's been proven. You'll be able to read all of it and see it for yourself. And I put up this one offer that I'll leave in the link. That's just for a few people from today and through tomorrow, because I'm sending this out to my list as well. Because after that, it's different. I'm having someone else come aboard and change all the rates in my coaching. My private sessions will be much more because I do much more in my private coachings, and so those rates will be changed now as well. But you can get some now, and you can even get it. They never expire if you get something advanced. You can do that. But at this age, I have to honor this. This is the most valuable product that's been created in I would say in human history. And I'm saying that because it doesn't select people. It works for every single person. And to come up with something that works for every single person, that's a difficult thing because most people won't believe it. Except I do know how humans operate, and that was all the information I was given, and that's all the information that is in this program. And so I will say to people, the only reason you will not have the life you want and achieve success and greatness is that you don't want to. And that is it, because listen, I didn't want to because I had to accept myself. And that's really what it is, you accepting the next version of who you're meant to become. And I wish it were something different. I wish it was something easier, but it isn't. Some people come in and have these great lives that you just breeze through it. That's not all of us. And it's definitely not all of us at this time in our world, because the entire world is changing. And that's why you're here. But thank you for being here. And I'm going to put these videos up because I wanted everyone to have this. I'll leave the links for you to have. You can see that offer. If it goes, in the next few hours, we'll see who takes it. But it's something that is so inexpensive, but it's worth $5,000, and you can pay it any way you want because it's their payments in there. But it's something that you will never see again in your life. That I do know, because it will absolutely change you. Hey, hey there, Aaron. Great to see. Thank you so much. I am. And thank you for the interview as well, Aaron. That was great. I love that. Aaron was a great example of how I don't remember what I do, because I did channeling on that interview, and it's really great. We'll have to share that link too, because that's how I receive information. But I'm going to tell you again, there is no reason for any of us not to have what we want in our lives now, because I've been given this information. Accepting it was another thing, but now it's here and you'll be able to see it for yourself. And I'm going to continue to put out more information for more of us to know the value that we hold, what we can achieve and accomplish as humans and as individuals and as a society, as a civilization, because that's really what this was about. Changing all of that to create empowered people who are living great lives, and this work will do it. Thank you all for being here. Thanks, Aaron. I'll share your Aaron does a great podcast, and I love the interview, and I'll share that link as well. So thank you all so much, and I will see you soon.